Now, quite some time ago at this stage, we had been talking about search engine optimization. And I had stressed over and over again that there are two approaches to that. One is to try and trick search engines like Google and Bing into sending people to your site, even though really, you don't have what they're looking for. And the other is to just be upfront about what it is your site is offering and make it easier for the search engines to put you together with people that want what you have. So it's a bit like, say, online dating or something. You want to specify what you're about. So if you like going to the cinema, I don't know, you smoke, but you don't drink, and you're, 5 feet tall, and someone is looking for someone who's, 6'2", likes hiking, and doesn't drink. There's very little point in selling yourself as something that you're not, because you might get, the hits, you might get all those dates, but you're not what the person is looking for. Similarly, there's no point in trying to pass off your website as something that it's not, so that you get more visitors, because they're no good to you. They're only if someone is looking to buy a bicycle and you're selling cheese, they're not going to say, "Oh my God, I was looking for a bike, but geez, that looks like great cheese." It's just not on the horizon. So you need to avoid the snake oil merchants who would tell you that they can make your rankings so much better and all this, if they're only going to try and fool Google, because you could probably fool Google for a little while, but not for long. And even if you could get more traffic, if it doesn't result in more sales or a better reputation in the marketplace or something, it's no good to you anyway. Okay? So we had talked then about Google Analytics and how Google can tell you who has come to your website. And Google will share with you in aggregate the information it has about the visitors. So obviously, just looking at the IP address, it can probably tell you where they're from. But if the person is logged in, Google will be able to know their gender, their age, what they're interested in, stuff like that. It doesn't tell you about individual customers, but it will tell you about them on average. So by now you should have some Google Analytics data yourselves from your blog. You'll get the information from Blogger inside in the stats, but then you need to go to Google Analytics itself, which is analytics.google.com, to get the more detailed information. Some people forget to go there and look, but you set that up way back. So you should see some of the more detailed information there. Now, so a number of things then you can do or some more things you can do to improve your rankings a bit. So if your content changes regularly, search engines will rank you a bit higher. So they value freshness. Now they also value authority, but they value freshness. So if you are updating your blog, that's going to help. Some people let users create their own content as well, so you can have discussion boards, comments, things like that, and that can help too. It can also help if you integrate your Twitter and your Facebook and have an RSS feed and things like that. So there was a time web publishing was just about putting stuff on the web, but now it's more of an ecosystem. You have your website, which may also have your blog, which may have its RSS feed. You'll have your Twitter, maybe Instagram. I've heard of places now that get most of their traffic from Instagram. You can follow a clothes shop or whatever, and they just post pictures of things on Instagram, and you can click through there to buy them and stuff like that. It's still evolving. I'm wondering, is it settled down a bit now? But maybe the next new thing will come along in a year or two. But it seems to me that most of the things that we might want seem to be catered for now at the moment. I don't think there's a need for another Instagram. Although we saw, what's the one where they disappear again? What's the latest one? Snapchat. So, I mean, that's like Instagram, only the things disappear after a little while. But either way, it's an ecosystem now. It's not just a website. You really want to avoid duplicate content. Posting on your website stuff that's already available somewhere else is of little value to anyone. There's also the question of how you came by it. Have you infringed on someone's copyright? But also, search engine isn't interested in that. Like if search engine comes to your site and finds stuff that it already has, well, like, it's not that pushed. So you just be way down the bottom. So some people like to, take stuff from other places and think, oh yeah, this is great now, but it's of no interest to anyone, and search engines aren't interested either. Reputation is a hard thing to get a handle on, but if you have links to dodgy sites, so there is a class of site whose only job is to link to other sites, so to give the impression that they're important. Like one of the things that Google uses, initially the main thing it used was the number of links to your site. So if you have two sites that are otherwise equally useful, but 20 people link to the first one and 2,000 people link to the second one, well then Google will think the second one is more important. But there became a whole business then of generating those links. And so there would be these fake makey-uppy sites that would be built just to link to these sites that were paid. So for example, you could pay someone to start linking all of their sites to your site, and then Google will get the impression that you're really useful. But of course in 2 or 3 weeks time, when you're not paying them anymore, the links will just change to someone else. But Google has done a good job now of detecting those kinds of things and punishing people who have anything to do with them. You should also have, a standard thing. I mean, if you were to look up a company now and you go to their webpage, you can even get a sense very quickly whether they're serious or whether they're just makey-uppy. And you might not even be able to articulate why you're having the reaction you're having. But just some things might not be there, some things you'd expect would be there. Things like that. So those are things you can do to your website or your web presence, maybe more than just a site now, to help with your rankings. You can also modify your relationship with the outside world, and that can improve your rankings also. So like I was saying, Google will consider how many people link to you. Okay? So the content of other websites, insofar as it relates to you, can have an impact on your rankings. So if there's a link to your page and that's related to, say, the search terms, that's going to help your score. So Google has seen not just your website, but it has all the other websites in the world as well. And if they're linking to you, so if you have ice cream recipes, someone has on their web page ice cream recipes, and that links to your site, well then Google can connect those search terms from that site, from that page, to your site and link them up that way. Now, this is pretty much what I was warning you about a second ago. So the more links you have to your site, the better it's going to be, but you have to be careful that it's not just fake. So obviously you want more. So if you have For example, you get lots of companies always saying, like us on Facebook and stuff. And that can help them. You can also pay someone. I heard, it's actually quite cheap to get 1,000 likes, or to get 1,000 followers on Twitter is very small money. Now, of course, they're not real people. They would be fake accounts and stuff. So it can give you the illusion of being more important than you are, and can possibly fool Google and Bing and Yahoo for a little while maybe, but usually not for long. So the question is, are these things ethical? And let's say it's a bit like, say, reviews for products on blogs. I mean, if you pay people to review them and say good things about them, that can improve your reputation. But if you get caught doing that, or if it's obvious that that's what you were doing, then that's going to cause a problem for you too. So the search engines are really keen to stamp out that kind of stuff. And I think on my Google Plus there, I had a video to a guy in Google talking about how do they decide if something is a genuine link to your website, or if it's something that was paid for, or what's acceptable as are you incentivizing people to link to you, things like that. So if search engines think you're taking the piss, they'll punish you by putting you way down the back. And so PageRank was the most important metric that Google used once upon a time. That was the main difference between Google and the other search engines, was that Google used the number of people linking to you as a measure of your quality. And that was quite revolutionary at the time and gave them a huge edge, because it was a way to separate out the good stuff from the bad stuff. Nowadays, it's less important, and there are many other metrics it uses as well. Being listed in a directory is a good thing also. Not only will you get people who go to the directory, obviously, they'll see you listed and they'll then follow through your site, but the mere fact that you're listed in the directory for a particular topic will give a big clue to a search engine that you're a quality site, because some human has made the decision to include you in that directory, and they may have limited time and limited resources, and they may decide they're only going to have 50 sites in there or something. And so if you're one of those ones, then that's a very good sign to the search engine that you're a reputable site. Remember, search engines don't have a problem finding things. The problem search engines have is separating the good stuff from the crap. And any clues it can get will help. So getting yourself into the main directories is very useful. Okay? Now, so trying to fool the search engines is not a good idea. It's a bit like I said, trying to go to an online dating site and misrepresenting yourself. You will get caught out eventually, and you can be delisted or blacklisted or just thrown to the back of the queue. There's a bit of an arms race going on between the search engines and the spammers, in that they come up with new ways to trick the algorithms that the search engines use, and then so the algorithms then have to be tweaked, and then it separates the crap, and then they figure out another way and stuff like that. So it's a bit of a changing situation there. But that shouldn't bother you. If you are just trying to make it clear to the search engine what your site is about, if you're selling bikes and you only want people interested in bikes, then that's no problem. If you're selling porn and you want to get people who are trying to buy bikes to come to your website, these techniques and these changes or have a bigger impact on you. So the main value in search engines is their ability to separate the good stuff from the crap, and that's why we use them again and again. So a number of things that people do is just throwing in loads of keywords that aren't really relevant, or some people have this notion where, look, I'll make kind of one view of the website for the people, for the humans, and one version of it for the search engines. And so they might do things like putting text for search engines, in tiny text, so that people don't see it, but the search engine will. Or they might do mad things like have white text on a white background, so the search engine bot would see the HTML, but the humans wouldn't see it. And that's a no-no. If the search engines detect you doing that, they'll just blacklist you. There was a very famous case of a very reputable company that developed super cool animated Flash thing for its website. But the problem it had was that the search engines at the time anyway couldn't see into the Flash movie to index the content. So it reproduced all of the content on the page as well as text, but in a way that was invisible to humans. So their intent wasn't to, like the Flash content and the text content were the same. So they weren't trying to deceive anyone, but they broke one of the cardinal rules of the search engines. And so they were blacklisted and just, kind of disappeared off the web for a few weeks because the search engines would link to them. Repeating the keywords, like I said before, if someone is looking for fat-free ice cream recipes and your website has, fat and free and ice cream and recipes, that's a good thing. But if ice cream appears, 200 times in the page, if the keywords appear there too much, it will look like someone is actually trying to pull a fast one. So you don't want to trigger the spam detectors. So you need to think about the way you're writing and presenting your content so that it can be easily indexed and easily found and easily matched up with people who are looking for that. But you don't want to write for the bots. You don't want to be thinking all the time, okay, how do I get more traffic? Because you can cross over into crazy territory where you're just doing silly things. Duplicated content is of no value. If we can find the original version, then that'll do us. One copy of everything would be fine, actually. We don't need 50 copies of the same stuff. So search engines aren't interested in that. So not only will the duplicated content not rank very highly, the rest of the content on the page might be ranked lower because it may be an indication to the search engine that it's a poor quality site. So if you have 10 good pages and then 9 good pages and then a 10th page that's taken off somewhere else, your 9 good pages might do worse off as a result of that 10th page. You might get more traffic by having less because duplicated content just doesn't do it for anyone. Okay. If you are concerned that links on your page to other sites may affect the reputation of your site, you can specify to the bots not to follow the links. So for example, you have comment spam, which you get a lot on blogs, where people come to your blog and say, oh, your blog is really great, that was a really, really interesting post, I really liked it, it was fab, man. Now, they never actually make any kind of a specific comment about the actual topic or anything like that, just about how wonderful you are. And they're like, and come check out my blog at whatever, whatever, whatever. And the only purpose of that comment is to put that link there to their blog. So you've given them now an extra link to their website. So when the search engines come a-crawling, they might find that that website has loads of links to it. Loads of people are linking to that site, so it must be good. But those are just links that were generated by spam bots on blogs of people like you. So that's not a good thing, because it's letting them get away with it. But then when Google eventually does figure out, actually no, that's not a good site. That's a crappy, spammy site. And all of those people that linked to it and made me think it was good were lying to me. So now the reputation of that site is having an impact on your reputation because you linked to it. So what the no-follow allows you to do, it allows you to say to the bots, okay, there's a link on my site, but don't follow that link from me. I'm not recommending that. And so in most content management systems, you'll find that in the comments section, it's preceded by a no-follow. So everything that comes in the comments is displayed and is readable and is indexable, but the links are not being recommended by that site. And if you go into your blogger even, you'll find there's an option there where you can turn that on and off. So you'll probably find if you go to your blog that if you have allowed anyone to post and you don't have the CAPTCHA, you'll probably find sitting in your blogs waiting to be approved a whole bunch of spammy, very flattering usually, comments. It can be a bit disappointing when you start out because, oh, these people are actually reading it, oh, this is great. And then you realize, no, it's just somebody selling Viagra somewhere. There's no interest in your blog as such. Okay, how do you measure how successful you are then? That's the next thing. It's all about metrics. There's a whole module or even a whole career to be had in analyzing metrics and analyzing web traffic. That could be your whole job now. So there's big business there. And there's a lot of work there. But how do you measure the success then of a website? So just measuring the number of visitors can be misleading because the same person could be coming back again and again. So if one person comes to your website 10 times, that counts as 10 visits, but it's only one person. Now, actually, having a same person come back 10 times is actually a really good thing. But that's a different metric then. Also, if you're selling something and 1,000 people are coming to your website every day, but only 1 in 1,000 is actually buying something, that's not as good as 100 people coming to your website every day and 10 of them buying something. So we talk about conversion rates where you turn someone, into not just a visitor, but someone who's actually buying or, say, signing up to your email or whatever. So there are all these different metrics that you have to consider. So the number of unique visitors is the number of different people that come to your website every day. So if I take my blog, for example, I probably have how many thousand a month. But in reality, there's probably only the 60 of you guys, really, coming a couple of times a week. It's not actually several thousand people. And so in your analytics, you can see how many unique visitors you have. You can also see how long they stay, how often they come back, things like that. So Facebook, for example, is much more interested in having repeat customers. Obviously, it likes new customers, but there probably aren't many new customers for Facebook anymore. What's really important to Facebook is how often you come back and how long you stay. People who come to CIT website from outside probably come just to get the information they're looking for about the courses and then go. CIT probably doesn't get that many repeat visitors. I don't know. Maybe for the next class, I'll get some of the stats from the CIT website. Might be fun to have a look. Google Analytics will allow you to figure out which search terms people are using to find you. And that can be really useful. So you can see which search terms are working and which ones are not. Now, so a conversion rate is the percentage of people that come to your site and do whatever it is you want them to do. So if you're selling something, the conversion rate is the number of people that come and then buy something. Now, if you're the marketing department of some company, maybe all you're looking for people to do is to sign up to the newsletter, or to follow you on Twitter, or to subscribe to the RSS feed or something. But there's some action you want people to do after they've visited your site. And if they do that, then you count them as having converted. Usually means to buy something. And that's really important. So if you have thousands of people coming to your website, but a very, very tiny conversion rate, it probably means that actually you've done a great job of getting them, and then you've lost them when they were there. So a bit like maybe from your online dating profile, getting loads of dates, but no one calls you for a second date. You're doing something wrong on the night. So you have to separate out the different metrics, and they can tell you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. So if you launch an advertising campaign and the number of visitors to your website increases tenfold, but the sales, the conversions don't increase at all, that tells you that maybe either you missold what you were doing in the advertising, maybe misrepresented what it was you could do, or the website was so bad that people came looking for that and didn't leave with it. And so it can give you hints as to maybe where you need to improve. Amazon would be masters of these analytics. And so they would be able to tell, if your cursor hovered over a product for a little while, how long you were looking at it. If, for example, you have abandoned shopping carts on your website, there's probably a usability issue there. If 50% of your customers made it all the way to putting in their name and address, and then they saw the price, and then when it came to pay, that's when you introduced the shipping rate that wasn't clear all along, and half of them are abandoning their shopping carts at that stage, then maybe that tells you there's a problem with the rate of your shipping, how much you're charging, or you didn't make it clear up front that it was going to cost that, or you didn't make it clear where you shipped to, or didn't make it clear that the prices you were showing didn't include the taxes, whatever, things like that. So you can analyze the behavior of people on your website as they go through your site and get all sorts of information. Now, Google makes its money from advertising, and it has figured out how to do that well, figured out how to do it better than most other companies. And it figured that out quite a long time ago. So it was the first to the party to do it right. So if you are selling handmade cosmetics in Cork, and you have a shop in Cork that sells handmade cosmetics. I suppose they're all handmade, I know, whatever, anyway, it doesn't really matter. Organic handmade cosmetics. You can say to Google, if someone searches for organic cosmetics, if someone searches for those two terms, okay, and then you can even specify locations, and you can say, and they're in Cork, you might decide, you're only going to advertise to Cork people, then I would like to advertise to people doing those searches. And if they click on my ad, I'm prepared to pay you 35 cents. And so that's how it works. You specify the keywords and other criteria that you want to use, you want to advertise at, and then you'll make a bid for how much you'll pay Google if they click on your link. So then if someone in Cork does a search for organic cosmetics, depending on who else has bid for those prices, so you might be competing with the Body Shop. The Body Shop might have decided to pay 50 cents, so the Body Shop might appear higher than yours. If there's a whole bunch of people, if there's space for 5 ads and 10 other companies bid more than you, then you probably won't appear at all. You might pay less than for organic handmade cosmetics. You might also decide to say to Google, if someone does a search for Mother's Day gifts and they're in Cork, I want you to show them my ad, and if they click on it, I'll pay €1 or something. You might have to pay more for the more broader, more generic search terms, but also you might decide, well, if someone is actually looking to buy gifts, maybe they're more likely to buy. If you had a mail order business, in addition, you might decide that you would, if someone does a search for organic cosmetics, I want to show my ad to everyone in Ireland, and you might decide, and you'll offer Google 30 cents for that. But you might decide, if they're in Cork, you'll offer them more because they're more likely to go in town and buy your product. So you can be very, very specific. You can specify the search terms, other criteria, and you specify the price. And then when you click, Google will get money. Okay? What's interesting though then is that you can look in your analytics and see which search terms are working for you. And you can also, if you're very organized, set up, Google will give you a piece of code that you can include on your, thank you for your purchase page, whatever. And so you could check your conversion rates for each of your keyword searches, for each of your ads. So you might find, for example, that people who are looking for Mother's Day gifts, they do come to your site, but they don't buy as much as people who did a search for organic handmade cosmetics. So the people that searched for organic handmade cosmetics, that click on your ad and come to your site may in fact make a purchase, whereas people just shopping around for Mother's Day gifts, not so much. And so you might decide then after all, okay, well, do you know what? People who are just looking for Mother's Day gifts, that's a bit saturated. They're not as inclined to part with their money, so I'm not going to pay as much for those anymore. Whereas people who are looking for this and this and this and this, if they search in those terms, those kind of people do buy my stuff. So I'm going to bid a bit more for those to make sure I get those customers. You might also see which search terms don't result in any actual. You might find, for example, some certain terms bring you loads of people that buy nothing. So you're like, well, there's no point in paying for those. It might be nice to get my name out there, but like if they're not buying, they're no good to me. So it'll depend on what you're looking for. But Google Analytics provides you all of these tools. So Google Analytics is great for you. It's a bit of entertainment. Its real purpose is to demonstrate to people who are paying for advertising that the advertising is working and which ads are working, and which ones are not, and what the return on that investment is. So there's a whole new job there that didn't exist 6 years ago, which is the online advertising, search engine optimization, Google Analytics person. Okay? So that's pretty much what I was saying there. So you see the ads appear on the right, or sometimes now they appear on the top as well. Google is still very good at making it very, very clear that this is an ad. It doesn't want to piss people off by mixing the ads with the organic search results. So it's very, very pedantic about saying, no, this is an ad. But still doesn't stop you clicking on it if it's exactly what you're looking for. Okay, just more of the same there. So it's just more details. Blah, 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 blah. As a web publisher, you might find it interesting to enable Google Ads on your blog, for example. You can go into the settings there. You can sign up to Google AdSense, give them your bank account details. They'll give you a code to plug into your Blogger account. You can set up where on your blog you want the ads to appear. And then when people come to your blog, they will start to see ads. The ads they will see will depend on, first of all, who you are, well, who they are, but also on what your blog is about. So if your blog is about shoes, Google knows that the people reading this blog are probably reading it because they are interested in shoes. It can tell that that's what the blog is about. So it's quite likely that the ads those people would see would be for shoes. Now, depending on who the person looking at the ad is, it might draw different conclusions and display different things. If someone clicks on those ads, the person that is doing the advertising pays Google, but you as the web publisher would get a cut of that. So you would get some of the money that Google collects, and then that would actually turn up in your bank account every so often as real money, actual cash. So a few years ago I had one lady in the class who was bringing in about $80 a month from her blog that she set up for the class. It just turned out that she had some very high value topics that people were prepared to advertise around. Also, maybe all the friends in the class were clicking on the ads too. That's a big problem with online advertising, is if you're the advertiser, can you really be sure that they're genuine clicks? You know, if I was malicious I could, if I was a car dealership in Cork and there was my competitor across the road, if I was malicious, I could maybe come in here and pay 1,000 students a few bob to click on his ads all the time, raking up huge expense for him. Of course, the real way to fraudulently make money is to be the web publisher that has the ads published on your site, and then you get people to click on those ads. So it appears to the advertiser like they're genuine clicks when in fact they're not. But you're costing the advertiser thousands and your cut is hundreds, but you still make that cut. So there's an issue there, but as publishers, you could put ads on your blog and you might make some money. It's very small money, but it is actual cash that you can spend. So if you had a very popular website, if you had, something that was extremely interesting to CIT students, and you had a blog or a web page about that, and you had ads associated with that, then if people clicked on the ads, you'd make some money. And you could see how students would actually be a useful, is a target audience for a lot of people. Bars would be interested in advertising to you, for example. So you can, for the crack, if you continue on with your blog, you can go in and set up the advertising. You have to sign up with Google Analytics first. Sorry, not Google Analytics, with Google AdSense first. And they want evidence that you are who you say you are and things like that. And then once they're satisfied that you're not some make-uppy thing, they'll set you up and you can start making actual money. So Google has an ecosystem there where you do your search term. It gives you the pages that it thinks meet those criteria. It also gives you the people who've paid to advertise to people like you doing those search terms. If you click on those ads, the advertiser has to pay Google. But as you travel the web, if you see ads and click on those, the person who owns the website will get some of the money too. And so it makes Google very wealthy. They've pretty much cornered the market now on online advertising. The system they have is just better than pretty much everyone else. Any questions on any of that? Okay, so after the Easter break,